I am on a ridge top close to my home in Southern Oregon, and I've just been hiking along this ridge in the fog, and I was considering finding a tree to take shelter under. There's some rain coming down with the fog and what have you, and the fog just blowing over, but I don't want to be done with my hike yet. And I saw something that I thought would be interesting to show everybody. Look on this tree. You'll see that line between wet and dry. So what this tells me is that the wind is bringing the fog from this direction and moving across. Now right now the wind is not super discernible. It's more of just drips coming from above. But this tells me now that the fog is coming from this side of the mountain and is traveling up over and then down that side. So this means that if I go to seek shelter behind a large tree, I would not want to be on that side of it. I'll want to be on that side of it. So anyway, it's just a small clue, things that you can pick up in nature that can help guide you. Just make little small observations that can make a very large difference. So there are some larger trees around here that have good branches that would shelter me from above. And now I know that if I stand on this southern side of those trees, as long as they have large trunks, I will also be able to get shelter from the fog blowing by and making my shirt that much more damp. The spot where I was showing you the dry side of the tree versus the wet side of the tree and explaining kind of how the wind affects the fog and which is the dry side and the wet side was this little grove of trees right up in here. As you can see now, I've moved down off of the high point of the ridge and I'm headed down here into this little grove of trees. So I'm getting down off of the ridge. That provides some shelter, but fog will still flow down along the ridge as well. As you can see, it's still foggy all the way around. So that alone is not entirely a shelter. But I'm going to get down here. This grove of trees, I've selected it because it has this large log across the top of it. All these branches are going to be absorbing a lot of the water that's falling from the sky. And these branches over here are going to be catching the fog and basically holding on to those water droplets as they sift through those branches. So the downside of these trees, right down around in there, should be a fairly good spot to hang out for a little while, where I'll be able to just kind of hang out and nature. Look at this. This is a beautiful little spot. Perfectly sheltered. Sheltered from above, sheltered from upwind. So I just make myself a little spot to sit. And there we go. Looks like I've got a place to hang out for a while. Here in my little hideout, I just found an example of the effect that I was trying to explain earlier. So here are these branches that are on the interior of my little fort, I'm going to call it. You can see these branches, they're damp, but they're not covered in water droplets. These branches that are towards the exterior, you can see the water droplets on those branches. That shows the effect right here. Just by taking shelter under a tree like this, you can actually change your conditions quite significantly. And especially when it's a matter of survival, something like this is very important to know. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on now and start adventuring back out through the fog. I spent enough time in my little shelter. My shirt was able to dry off. My shirt was decently wet from the fog and the rain. But just by getting back under this shelter, this tree, back into this area, I was able to just sit there and let the heat of my body dry off my shirt. And my shirt is a lot drier than it was. So now it's time to keep walking. And yeah.